The bold and the beautiful spoilers reveal that, after many days of hesitation and inner torment, Finn decided to remove his fake cover to face his dark past and tell the truth to Steffi, the wife he once gave all his trust and love. This revelation was not only a turning point in Finn's life, but also a terrible shock to Steffi, opening up a series of painful and tragic events, where obsessions, betrayals, and losses intertwine in a way that few can imagine. The article below will analyze in detail each aspect of the story, expanding on the details from Finn's confession to the unpredictable consequences for Steffi, in order to portray a deep and dramatic psychological picture of the character in the movie The Bold and the Beautiful. For a long time, Finn has suffered from obsessions and inner torment while trying to hide a painful secret. Every day that passes, Finn feels the heavy pressure as if the unspoken words are smoldering in his heart, making his mind constantly churn and filled with fear. Finn clearly understands that this secret is not only a personal burden, but also a fragment of a wrong past that he does not dare to face. It is the haunting memory of the drunken night that Finn slept with Poppy that haunts him like a ghost, causing him to live day and night in regret and remorse. Through psychological scenes, we see Finn thinking quietly, his eyes filled with fatigue and anxiety, as if every breath of his is heavy with indelible sins. That torment not only makes Finn mentally weak, but also pushes him into a state of constant stress, causing negative thoughts to rush in like a never-ending storm. He understood that if he continued to live with this torment, not only would Finn himself not find peace, but his relationship with Steffi, whom he loved dearly, would soon fall apart in the vast sea of betrayal and deception. After many sleepless nights of pain and regret, Finn finally decided that he could no longer live in this inner turmoil. He knew that, although it was difficult to accept, telling the truth to Steffi was the only thing that could free him from the shackles of the past. This decision was not only a turning point in Finn's life, but also a journey to regain self-respect, a new beginning, even if it cost him both love and trust. Finn returned home with a serious expression, his eyes filled with sadness and determination, as if every gesture carried the burden of the truth. He asked to talk to Steffi as soon as he returned to the home that had once been a safe place for both of them. With no more room for concealment, Finn knew he had to face the consequences of his past wrongdoings, even if it meant irreparably damaging his only relationship with the woman he loved. Even though he knew that Steffi would have a hard time forgiving him, Finn had no choice but to face the truth. He clearly felt that hiding the past would not only destroy Steffi's trust, but also cause him to lose himself. Finn felt that if he continued to keep the secret, the obsession would become more intense, threatening the happiness of both of them. Therefore, with determination and human weakness, Finn mustered up the courage to confess everything. However, besides that determination, Finn still could not hide his panic and fear. In his heart, there was always a haunting question: can I be forgiven? Can the person I love forget my sinful past? That inner conflict created a broken piece in Finn's heart that was difficult to mend, causing every word that came out of his mouth to carry with it regret and respect for the past. It was in that moment that Finn faced not only himself, but also a predetermined fate of society with the image of a person who had betrayed, imprisoned, and caused indelible damage. Right after deciding to tell the truth, Finn returned home with a heavy heart and sad eyes. The house that used to contain sweet memories of the two of them now became empty and cold, like a warning of what was about to happen. Finn stood in front of the door. Each step seemed to be heavy with the burden of unspoken words. He knew that each step was a step towards the truth, and at the same time a step towards a separation with no way out. When Steffi opened the door, her expression immediately changed from surprise to worry. Steffi's eyes revealed fear and concern. "Finn, did something happen to you?" That question was like a warning of what was to come, making the space between the two of them heavy and full of tension. In that moment, with wet eyes and a trembling voice, Finn said the words he had been secretly keeping for so long. "Honey, I just found out that I am Luna's father." Those words were like a strong shock, hitting Steffi's heart, making her unable to believe her ears. This truth was not simply revealing a family secret, but also exposing the mistakes of the past drunken night when Finn slept with Poppy. Finn's drunken night story was told in heartbreaking detail. He told of the dark night, where the alcohol blurred his mind and made him forget his responsibilities as a husband, causing him to lose his courage and let guilt surround him. Finn recalled every moment, every word and light touch, as if everything was imprinted in his memory. Those confessions not only made Steffi gasp, but also made her feel like the whole world around her was collapsing. After recounting the story of the drunken night, Finn fell into a state of panic and confusion. He begged Steffi for forgiveness, but in his plea, Finn knew that no words could erase the sins he had committed. He revealed his fear that he was not only the father of Luna, a child that was the result of a terrible mistake, but also the one who had imprisoned and hurt the woman he had promised to love forever. With a troubled voice, Finn said, "I beg your forgiveness. I know that I have hurt you too deeply, and now I only know fear and regret." Those words contain not only the regret of a man, but also the affirmation that Finn was facing the consequences of his own wrongdoings. In that moment, the atmosphere became suffocating, as both had to face the terrible truth that no one could avoid. Finn's story had just been revealed, causing Steffi to be unable to control her emotions. To her, believing that the husband she trusted and loved unconditionally could hide such a terrible secret was an unforgivable betrayal. Steffi not only felt deceived, but also as if her entire world had been turned upside down in an instant. She cried, her emotions exploding into pain and despair. Steffi could not understand why Finn had allowed himself to fall into such a terrible situation. The image of a loving husband betraying her was too much to accept. Steffi's pain was exacerbated when she realized that, in addition to facing betrayal, she also had to endure the pain of knowing that her child, the child she never got to welcome, had been lost due to Finn's wrongdoings. In shock, Steffi could not control her emotions. She exploded in a violent rage, causing tears and screams to erupt. Unable to believe the confessions, Steffi decides that Finn no longer has a place in her life. She kicks him out of the house, a harsh yet painful act, as if she is trying to erase every trace of a cruel memory. The image of Steffi standing in front of the door, her eyes red with tears and her voice trembling as she shouted, "Finn, get out of the house now," was imprinted in the minds of viewers as a tragic scene. In that moment, the entire house that used to be a haven of love now became cold, empty, and full of unhealed wounds. Not stopping at kicking Finn out of the house, Steffi's chaotic mood escalated when she was forced to drive in a state of tears. In that moment of weakness, as tears continuously fell, Steffi lost focus while driving. The act of driving in a state of mental instability led to a tragic car accident, causing her not only to suffer serious physical injuries, but also to be mentally burdened by pain. The accident scene was not only a direct result of her lack of concentration, but also a metaphor for the collapse of Steffi's relationship and life. In the moment of the accident, viewers feel the panic, pain, and irreparable loss of a woman who once lived fully for love, but is now crushed by the fragments of the past. After the terrible accident, the story continues to get worse when Finn, in a panic and fear, discovers that Steffi is not only seriously injured, but also has a miscarriage. This news is like a strong punch to Finn's heart, causing him to feel guilty and regretful. The unborn child, the symbol of love and hope that the two once cherished, has now become a painful memory, a loss that Finn cannot redeem. Finn understands that if he had not dared to tell the truth before, perhaps Steffi would never have encountered this fateful accident and that child would have had the chance to be born. That painful realization further increases Finn's guilt, making him feel that everything around him is betraying him. He wondered if there was a way to turn back time, to fix the huge mistakes he had made. The loss of his unborn child was not only a physical loss, but also a deep emotional pain for Finn. He blamed himself for the wrongdoings that led to this loss. Finn felt like he had become the direct cause of all the pain that was happening. Every tear that fell on his face was a cry of an indelible guilt. In Finn's mind, the image of Steffi, the woman he had promised to protect and love, had now become a symbol of betrayal and hurt. He could not forgive himself, and he did not know if there was any way out for a person like him after everything had become so dark and chaotic. When faced with the devastating consequences of Finn's confession, the big question suddenly arises. Can Steffi forgive the husband she once loved so much? In that tragic moment, Steffi struggles between pain, anger, and loss. All the connections, all the sweet memories before are now just fragments frozen in the ice of betrayal. Steffi not only loses her child, but also loses her faith in love and happiness. She wonders whether she should denounce Finn, seeing him as the indirect cause of all the pain she has suffered. That inner struggle sets an unpredictable boundary, as Steffi's emotions become more complicated and confusing than ever. Is there a way to mend the broken pieces of her heart? Or is it too late to fix it, and Steffi will have to live with deep wounds forever? The car accident that Steffi suffered after her trauma was a heartbreaking symbol of the collapse of her life. The car that had been her means of transportation and access to the world had become the embodiment of chaos and loss of control. The image of Steffi driving in tears, her eyes clouded with grief, created a tragic scene, as each movement of the car seemed to mark another unforgettable loss. The accident not only left Steffi with severe physical injuries, but also deep psychological scars. In every moment after the accident, she faced the consequences of her poor decisions and helplessness in the face of uncontrollable events. Although the doctors could tell her that she would recover physically, Steffi's soul was so damaged that every moment she lived in a nightmare of the past and painful memories. Steffi, a woman who has always been strong and resilient, is now weighed down by an unbearable burden. In the face of Finn's confession, Steffi not only feels emotionally betrayed, but also feels like she has lost her identity. The pain of her beloved husband's betrayal has left her in a state of instability, as each passing moment is a new moment for her to face the terrible truth. In the tearful hours after the accident, Steffi seems to have lost control of her emotions. She no longer knows what to do as thoughts of loss, pain, and abandonment keep coming back. Anger, sadness, and disappointment mix together, creating a complex psychological picture, making Steffi unstable and gradually losing faith in the future. After the car accident and the loss of her child, Steffi's psychology becomes even more chaotic and unpredictable. Physical injuries can be healed over time, but psychological scars are something that is difficult to erase. The pain from the loss not only affects Steffi's personal life, but can also lead to serious psychological complications, making her more isolated and vulnerable than ever. Some psychologists may say that, after such tragic events, Steffi is at risk of falling into a state of chronic depression or even a mental breakdown. The sense of loss, betrayal, and deep pain can gradually turn her into a mental patient who can no longer control her emotions and behavior. In this context, the question, can Steffi return to normal after this accident and loss, becomes a matter of concern for many people, when her future always seems to be hovering on the brink of inner destruction. The truth that Finn has just revealed is not only a problem between the husband and wife, but also deeply affects the entire family. In a family that already has conflicts and small conflicts, the exposure of a big secret like this makes everything more chaotic. Close relationships, past memories are now volatile and unpredictable when each member has to face the bitter truth and unpredictable consequences of past mistakes. Finn's declaration that he is Luna's father not only shocks Steffi, but also disrupts other family relationships. Other family members may feel betrayed, abandoned, and even heartbroken because of Finn's wrongdoings. The once strong connections are now in a precarious state, when each person has to wonder if they can forgive such terrible mistakes. In a society where loyalty and truth are highly valued, Finn's actions have created a wave of strong reactions. Fans, relatives, and those around him were all shocked by Finn's inner torment and his decision to confess. Every story and every word Finn said became a topic of discussion, as everyone asked the question, can a person change after making such a big mistake? The community's reaction was not only anger or sympathy for Steffi, but also a fierce debate about personal responsibility and the consequences of wrongdoing. Some people believed that Finn should be forgiven and given a chance to make amends, while others asserted that his betrayal was unacceptable and that he should pay a heavy price for the consequences he caused. The consequences of Finn's confession will be long-lasting and spread beyond the scope of a small family. They will not only affect the relationship between Finn and Steffi, but also set the stage for future conflicts and contradictions. Will this family be able to overcome the inner storm, or will the psychological wounds remain forever, causing the members to never be able to regain faith in love and loyalty? Some family psychologists believe that, in such cases, the healing process requires not only time, but also the intervention of counselors who can help members understand the source of the pain and find ways to overcome it. However, without consensus and forgiveness from all parties, the consequences of this event can lead to a complete breakdown of family relationships, causing each individual to suffer from loneliness and unspeakable pain. One of the difficult questions that arose immediately after this tragic event was whether Steffi, in the pain of losing her child and feeling betrayed, could report Finn for indirectly causing her to lose her unborn child. This decision was not only a matter of personal feelings, but also a legal turning point, when Finn's every action would be examined in the light of truth and justice. If Steffi chose to report, it would open up a long legal battle, not only making the relationship between the two even more tense, but also possibly causing Finn's reputation to be severely affected. For someone with a sinful past, facing justice may be the only way to pay for his mistakes, but at the same time, it is a step that makes the opportunity for forgiveness and repair more distant than ever. Another issue that needs to be considered is Steffi's ability to recover from the horrific car accident and the severe emotional trauma. In the early hours after the accident, Steffi not only struggled with the physical aftermath, but also had to deal with nightmares and painful memories of loss and betrayal. Many experts believe that when a person suffers severe emotional trauma, full recovery is very difficult and can lead to long-term psychological complications. It is likely that Steffi will have to undergo a long process of psychological treatment, possibly individual psychotherapy or even intervention from family and friends. Recovery requires not only time, but also patience and faith that, despite all the pain, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. However, in the worst case, Steffi could fall victim to a serious psychological disorder, turning her from a strong woman into a mentally ill patient unable to control her emotions and actions. One of the biggest unknowns in the story is whether Steffi will ever be able to forgive Finn. Love, trust, and loyalty are values that are built over time, but when threatened by betrayal and loss, all of those values seem fragile. Steffi faces a difficult choice. Should she hold on to the past and live in pain forever, or will she find a way to forgive so she can move on, even if it means accepting a person who has sinned and caused great harm? Finn, with all his regret and guilt, knows that the road to redemption is long and thorny. He can't ask Steffi to forgive him with just apologies, but must prove that he has truly changed, that his actions will never happen again from now on. Steffi's forgiveness will not only be a gift from her to Finn, but also a decisive turning point for both of their futures, whether they can overcome the tragedies of the past together. In the world of the bold and the beautiful, Finn and Steffi are not the only characters who are heavily affected by this event. The truth that is revealed will spread to everyone involved, from family, friends to even outside fans. Each character must question the value of loyalty, of forgiveness, and of the decisions that have determined their fate. Relationships that were once strong can suddenly become fractured, and every wrong move can lead to unforeseen consequences. Supporting characters will likely react in different ways. Some choose to stand by Steffi, supporting her decision in her pain, while others seek to explain and justify Finn, hoping that the truth will be understood in a more humane way. The multidimensionality of these reactions creates a rich social picture where everyone is caught up in a whirlwind of strong emotions and unpredictable decisions. One thing is for sure, this story will continue to be a hot topic, a lesson about betrayal, about pain, and about the ability to forgive in life. Although the difficult questions still remain, although the future of the characters may be full of unpredictable things, one thing is undeniable, that the truth, no matter how painful, will eventually lead people to the path of liberation and healing.